Candle is your neighbor watching you. Fearful 20 true neighbor horror stories. Wind howls, faint footsteps, a slow creak of a door. The narrator speaks in a low, eerie voice. Greater than sometimes, the scariest monsters don't live in haunted houses or deep in the woods. They live right next door. Tonight, you'll hear 20 terrifying true stories of neighbors who turned nightmares into reality. So lock your doors, check your windows. Because after this, you'll never look at your neighbors the same way again. Candle's story 1. The Man in the Attic. It started with noises. Sarah thought it was rats, scratching, shifting above her ceiling every night around 2 a.m. But one morning, she found something strange. Her food was disappearing. Sandwiches gone. Cereal boxes moved. She lived alone. After weeks of paranoia, she called the police. They checked her attic, and found a mattress, half-eaten food, and a man's coat. He wasn't breaking in. He'd been living above her, for months. Her neighbor, the man who always waved hello. Skull Story 2. The Woman Who Watched Me Sleep. A college student moved into a cheap apartment downtown. The rent was low, but the walls were thin. Every night, she felt a strange presence, someone watching. One night, she noticed a faint red light in her ceiling vent. When maintenance checked, they found a tiny camera connected to the apartment next door. The neighbor confessed. He said he only wanted to see what she looked like when she dreamed. Drop of Blood Story 3. The Basement Door. A couple bought their first home. The previous owner said the basement door was sealed, for safety reasons. One evening, curiosity got the better of them. They broke the lock. Inside the basement, the smell hit first, then the sight. Newspaper clippings, photos of them sleeping, and live video feeds from hidden cameras throughout the house. The camera system was still connected, and the router showed one active connection. The neighbor's Wi-Fi. Story 4. The Perfect Neighbor. He was charming, friendly, always willing to help. But one day, when a new tenant moved in, she noticed something disturbing. He had a room filled with mannequins, all styled to look like the people who lived on the street. When police arrived, they discovered wigs made from real hair. And one mannequin's hand was a real human hand. Cooking Knife Story 5. The Missing Dog. Lisa's golden retriever vanished one evening. She posted flyers, called shelters, nothing. 2 weeks later, her neighbor invited her over for dinner. He served stew. As she ate, she noticed a small, golden hair in the bowl. When she asked about it, the neighbor smiled. He said, "I found your dog, and wanted to share him with you." Candle Story 6. The Apartment Below. Every night, strange thuds came from the floor below. When the tenant complained, the landlord shrugged. "He's harmless, just doesn't sleep much." But when police finally broke into the downstairs unit, they found soundproof walls, a drain in the floor, and a collection of shoes and wallets from missing residents. The neighbor was gone. The drain was still wet. Drop of Blood Story 7. The Window Face. Every morning at 3 a.m., a woman woke to see a pale face staring through her bedroom window. It vanished every time she screamed. When police came, they found footprints under the window, barefoot. They matched them to the man who lived across the street. He admitted to watching her every night, just to make sure she was safe. Skull Story 8. The Baby Monitor. A new mother kept hearing voices through her baby monitor. They weren't static, they were words. "Isn't she beautiful? Go to sleep now." She checked the signal. It was connected to another monitor, one registered under her neighbor's name. When police entered his house, they found dozens of devices. He'd been listening to every baby in the neighborhood. Flashlight Story 9. The Locked Shed. A boy's ball rolled into the neighbor's yard. He peeked into the old shed and froze. Inside were jars, dozens of them, each one labeled with a name, and filled with hair, teeth, and fingernails. The neighbor claimed it was for witchcraft protection. But every name on the jars matched someone who had gone missing. Mantelpiece Clock Story 10. The Midnight Knock. A family kept hearing knocks at the back door every night at exactly midnight. When they checked, no one was there. One night, they set up a camera. The footage showed their neighbor standing silently, knocking, and whispering, "Let me in. I just want to talk." Coffin Story 11. The Storage Unit. A man found out his neighbor rented a storage unit next to his. The smell became unbearable. He opened it when no one was around, and found dozens of mannequins dressed like the people on their street, some with missing limbs. The neighbor was later arrested. DNA proved the mannequins weren't mannequins at all. Drop of Blood Story 12. The letters. A woman started getting letters. Handwritten, personal. They described everything she did that day, what she wore, what she cooked, what time she showered. Each letter ended with, "From your secret friend next door." When she finally confronted him, he smiled and said, "You never said you didn't like it." Skull Story 13. The Garage Light. A man noticed his garage light kept turning on every night around 2 a.m. He thought it was a motion sensor problem, until he checked security footage. His neighbor was entering his garage, standing there silently for 10 minutes. Then leaving. When asked why, the neighbor replied, "I just like being near you when you sleep." Fire Story 14. The Strange Smell. Residents complained about a burning smell in their building. The source: Apartment 4B. Inside, police found walls lined with charred photographs of everyone in the complex. Each one had their faces scratched out. Story 15. The Hidden Door. A couple renovating their new home found a hidden door behind their closet. It led to a narrow tunnel connecting to the neighbor's basement. The neighbor confessed he used it to check in on them at night. He said he liked to make sure they were real. Coffin Story 16. The Neighbor Who Never Slept. Every time someone looked outside late at night, they'd see him standing at his window, staring. He never blinked, never moved. When police entered his apartment after weeks of silence, they found him dead. But his body was positioned perfectly upright, eyes wide open, as if still watching. Drop of Blood Story 17. The Sound of Breathing. A teenage girl heard breathing through the vent above her bed. When maintenance came, they found a small camera attached to a tube, leading straight into the neighbor's wall. He said it wasn't for spying, but for listening to her dreams. Candle Story 18. The Neighbor's Garden. A woman complimented her neighbor's garden. The flowers always bloomed beautifully. He smiled and said, "It's the fertilizer. Very organic." Months later, police discovered human remains buried beneath the roses. Mantelpiece Clock Story 19. The Forgotten House. A man moved into a quiet suburban street. Every neighbor warned him, "Don't talk to the man at number 9. He laughed it off, until one night, he saw the man standing outside, motionless, holding a shovel. He never slept again. Skull Story 20. The Final Watcher. You're listening to these stories right now. You've locked your doors, closed your blinds. You feel safe. But did you ever stop to wonder, who's watching you? Faint knocking sound. Fade to silence. Candle. The end. Soft breathing. Faint static. Then, silence.